My name is Scott Gardner. I'm the director of the Glencoe Mansion Museum and Gallery here in Radford. For about the past 9 to 10 years, I've been studying Radford history. I wrote a book through Arcadia Publishing on the history of Radford that was published in early 2011. It's called Radford Then and Now. It's a pictorial history. It shows people what sites are here in Radford presently and what they used to be in the past. The Foundry was definitely an element that I touched on in my book. About 1891 is when we believe they were starting to build it, and by 1892 or so is when it opens up for production. It started out as a pipe shop, so they were manufacturing pipe of, very different sizes. And there are the stories that they produced pipe for the Panama Canal in the early 20th century. But by the mid-20th century, I would say they were starting to produce automotive parts.
Name's Daniel Stevens. I go by Chris. When I started working at New River Castings, December of '99, worked there through March 5th of 2000. At the time the place blew up. And I worked in the knockout department, which was fairly close to the core department. Basically swinging sledgehammers, breaking parts away from the molds that they were poured into. It started off as a pipe shop at one point, basically making, I think, ductile iron. Switched over to doing automotive parts at some point, I couldn't tell you when. Then from there, it's progressed as an auto parts manufacturer up until it closed after switching hands post-explosion. You had an explosion there that resulted in 3 fatalities. Several people injured, including myself. OSHA went in and done the investigation post-explosion. They wound up with one of the largest fines in Virginia OSHA history, and I think it was $801,000. 21 what they call willful violations, and another 20 serious violations. I can give you the full rundown of what happened. About 20 minutes in, to me, it was what I saw was flashing lights. And then woke up a little while later and knew something wasn't right. I was laying there, I had something, kind of pinning my head down. I had a respirator that we wore, face respirator, and it had been torn off, kind of wrapped it on my throat. Abdominal pain, couldn't feel my leg. Radford Fire Department carried me out on a backboard, loaded me in the ambulance. I went to New River Valley Medical Center. From there was flown to Roanoke and spent the next 7.5 weeks in the hospital undergoing repair surgery to have my leg hopefully repaired before it finally set gangrene and was amputated. Had muscle wall debridements and wound up with a substantial hernia that I'll carry probably for life.
My name's Laura Lamoureux. I live on the west side of Radford, right across the street from the Foundry. I remember the Foundry blowing up. My whole house shook, and I was in a big old 1800 house. It was in the evening, probably about 8 or 9 o'clock. Boom! The whole home shook. The Foundry, the soot that came out of it when it was running was this black stuff. And I remember our pool having this layer of black stuff. And in our filter, the filter of our pool too. The trees are so much more of a deeper green now, and just beautiful, vivid colors, the plants and stuff now. My basset hound and I, Ralph and I, we walk every day, see the health of this area, and it's gotten so much better. We're all breathing better these days.
The site has a lot of potential, but the problem is the environmental concerns with that site. It has been a manufacturing site for 120 plus years. I would believe through most of that time the standards for disposal of waste and such were not the highest. And even if you are taking the best precautions, manufacturing does have side effects. That property to be used in any other capacity would probably have to undergo quite a bit of work to clean the site. When it closed in that 2009-10 period, the company that owned it had gone into bankruptcy. And then there was a series of different companies that took it over. The last that I had heard with the last company that owned the site was that the cost of production here was just too expensive because of the cost of electricity.